Hello, I'm ORA President Reese Stewart, and I'd like to welcome you to the first of many virtual knowledge events that ORA is hosting on your behalf. We know that members are looking to ORA for support and caring during this challenging time, and through this series, we are happy to offer you information and explanations about the many fast-changing issues surrounding COVID-19. Today, we're going to be turning to the expertise of ORA's Vice President of Human Resources, Melinda Skinner. Melinda is usually behind the scenes at ORA, but she's agreed to step in front of the camera in order to break down the details of paid leave that your brokerage or team employees are entitled to under the Families First Coronavirus Resource Act. We'll go over the two types of paid leave, which companies are exempt, which employees qualify and why, and compliance requirements. Melinda, thank you so much for sharing your HR experience with ORA members. If you would, please start us off with an overview of what exactly the Families First Coronavirus Response Act means in terms of paid employee leave.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the U.S. Department of Labor has issued temporary regulations for small to medium-sized organizations. As President Reese mentioned, we have a brand new law that impacts many of our brokers who have less than 500 employees. The Family First Coronavirus Response Act went into effect April 1st, making full-time and part-time employees eligible to take paid leave under the current pandemic. It's so new that many of our broker offices are still trying to keep up with the new legislation and keep up with the compliance updates.
Thank you, Melinda. Some are asking, does this apply to my brokerage?
Yes, if you have less than 500 employees, you are required to comply with the act.
And as a business owner myself, and I have reviewed the act, but can you tell us a little more about what it involves?
Yes, under the Act, there are two different types of leave, emergency paid sick leave and an extended FMLA leave. In order to help small to medium-sized businesses, the expense is cost neutral via payroll and tax credits. This is why it is so very important to track our hours used so that we can receive the compensation for this leave at 100% of the payroll cost. First, let's discuss emergency paid sick leave, and then we'll discuss Emergency Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act. So for the first paid sick leave, which is emergency paid sick leave, employees are eligible for 10 days of paid sick leave without a service requirement. So every employee in your organization, even if they just started last week, they are eligible and have a right to this leave. There can be 6 reasons for your employee taking this leave. The first reason is that the employee has been ordered by the government to quarantine or isolate because of COVID-19. Now, this is 10 days and it is paid at the regular rate of pay. The second reason is the employee has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine. Also will be paid at the regular rate of pay. The third reason is that your employee is showing symptoms of COVID-19 and is seeking medical diagnosis. So maybe they are not sure if they have it or not. They are either waiting to get tested or maybe they've gotten tested and they're waiting for the results. But either way, the employee qualifies for the leave, and this is also paid at the regular rate of pay. The fourth reason is that the employee is caring for someone who is subject to a quarantine or isolation order, or they've been advised by a healthcare provider to quarantine or self-isolate. So it is not the employee who is showing the symptoms, but the employee is helping another individual who is in isolation. So this is also 2 weeks, the 80 hours, but it is not paid at the full regular rate of pay. This is paid at 2/3 of the regular rate of pay or minimum wage, whichever is higher. The fifth reason is that you have an employee who needs to care for their son or daughter whose school or childcare service is closed due to COVID-19 precautions. The sixth reason is almost a catch-all reason, and it is that the employees experience substantially similar conditions as specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services in consultation with the Secretaries of Labor and Treasury. So that's for the paid sick leave. The other type of leave that we're going to discuss today is extended FMLA, and we will call that paid family leave. So in order to qualify, employees must have worked with the organization for at least 30 days. So unlike the paid sick leave where there is no service requirement, for this extended FMLA, we do have a service requirement of being employed with the organization for at least 30 days. There's only one reason that your employee can take this leave, and it is that the employee is unable to work because they need to care for a child under the age of 18 and the child care provider is unavailable. So this employee is actually eligible for 12 weeks out of the office. The first 2 weeks, we will use the emergency sick leave that we discussed earlier, and the following weeks, the employee will then use the extended FMLA. All 12 weeks are paid at 2/3 of the regular rate of pay. And remember, this is cost neutral to the employer. However, there are caps to take into consideration. For example, the paid leave is capped at $10,000 for 10 weeks, and it is capped at $2,000 for the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Melinda, are broker offices required to share this information with their employees?
Yes, let's talk a little bit about compliance. So you are required to provide notice to your employees, just as we usually do with our organizations by posting the state and federal labor law posters. The Department of Labor has published a brand new poster for the Family First Coronavirus Act, and I have it here. This is a sample. However, because of the current climate that we are in with most of our employees working remotely, it is not sufficient to post this in your break room or in your office at this time. So we're suggesting that you either post the notice in your intranet site that you have for your employees, or you can email the new labor law poster that's just been released, and you can email it to all of your employees. Again, you can find the poster on the Department of Labor website.
Okay. What about smaller brokers, with only a handful of employees?
So one of the things to note is that employers that have 50 employees or less may qualify for exemptions. Reasons will be addressed soon by the Department of Labor with more information. However, we are seeing that the only basis currently for this exemption is for the extended FMLA, where your employee needs to take care of their son or daughter. If you are interested in exemption, you should document all of the reasons why your business meets the criteria that's been set forth. And if you want to seek this exemption, you have to demonstrate that compliance would actually jeopardize the viability of your business. So another thing to note is that the Department of Labor is asking businesses not to send in any materials seeking small business exemption at this time. Another item to note is that businesses with less than 25 employees are not required to reinstate an employee to their position after they return from leave, but all businesses with more than 25 employees are required to do so. The other item to note is that businesses with fewer than 50 employees are exempt from civil actions brought by employees for violations regarding the emergency paid FMLA.
Okay. So what does an employee need to do at this time?
Eligible employers must receive the following information from their employees. So I suggest that your organization create a form for the employees to submit. And the form should include the employee's name, the dates for which the employee leave is requested, a statement of the reasons the employee is requesting leave and written support for such a reason. Also a statement that the employee is unable to work, including working from home, and the reason why. Now, in the case that the leave request is based on quarantine orders or self-quarantine advice, I would definitely state that it should include the name of the government entity or the healthcare professional that is advising self-quarantine. If it is in regards to school closure because a child care provider isn't available, the statement from the employee should include the name and age of the child or children, the name of the school or place of care, which usually provides care that has been affected. And it's also important to note that with care of a child older than 13 years of age during daytime hours, a statement should be included that explains the special circumstances exist requiring the employee to provide care.
Okay. Now, what documentation do I need to get the tax credit?
So in addition to employee documentation supporting why they're taking the leave that we just discussed, the IRS has also issued documentation as your Form 941, which is your employer's quarterly federal tax return. Also Form 7200, which is a new form, advance of employer credits due to COVID-19 to claim the tax credit. So at Aura, we have set up earnings code that will track the hours on the timesheet automatically, tracking the information for our tax form. So if you have a payroll company that you work with to pay your employees, I highly suggest that you partner with them so that they can create earnings codes that will basically handle this work for you. In addition to help employers that afford the new paid sick leave and FMLA benefits, the Treasury Department has waived penalties for our businesses not submitting their payroll taxes if you anticipate a refund under the new law. So they have actually said they will soon be releasing a form for small businesses to request an expedited advance on their refund.
Okay. Let's say I have an employee that can work in the afternoon when the county's distance learning schedule is over. Can my employee work partial hours while on leave?
Yes, and that is an excellent idea. If the employer allows it and the employee is unable to telework their normal schedule of hours due to one of the qualifying reasons in the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, in that situation, the employee and their employer may agree to take paid sick leave intermittently while teleworking or working from home. So you may take intermittent leave in any increment, provided that your employer agrees. So for example, if you agree to 90-minute increments, you could telework from 1 to 2:30 p.m., taking leave from 2:30 to 4, and then returning to working from home. So the department encourages employers and employees to collaborate to achieve flexibility in this situation and meet mutual needs. So they're very supportive of such arrangements that combine teleworking and intermittent leave. So it looks like we have a few questions here. So it states here, how does this affect, we have a question from Adam, how does this affect independent contractors as we don't have a rate of pay? So these provisions that I've been discussing affect employees. So if you are looking at your organization and you're trying to decide who this affects and who it doesn't, this actually, everything that I've described today describes your employees that you would typically give a W-2 form at the end of the year. It does not include the employees whom you give 1099 forms at the end of the year. So how do I apply for the 10 days sick leave? That is from Elaine. So it looks like, Elaine, you would need to partner with your business or your organization that you work for. And we discussed some of the things that you can provide to your organization, discussing why you qualify for the paid leave. And then your organization would get back to you on that. Okay. If we have any other questions.
Now, Melinda, can I just reiterate, this is for employer-employee relationships, right?
Yes. So Sarah, Ms. Sarah Hayes is asking, please clarify employees different from independent contractor agents. So yes, this does not apply to your independent contractor agents. This would be your employees. So if you have an employee that is administrative, marketing, working at the front desk, a lot of our broker offices do have over 50 employees in addition to any realtor or 1099 employees that they have working. So I just want to state that there is so much more information regarding this new act on the Department of Labor website. There is also a lot of information where you can decide who is an employee and who is an independent contractor. So I definitely suggest going to the Department of Labor website. And I see that we have a few more questions. So what I will do is review the questions and make sure that we give our members and our broker offices follow-up, either in this week's educational seminars that we are providing or in another follow-up Facebook Live. So back to you, Reese.
Thank you. Melinda, I know you've been incredibly busy trying to keep up with all these regulations and their nuances in addition to providing guidance to Aura's own employees. Thank you for taking the time to offer your perspective to our members as well. We're grateful to have you in Aura's Corner, and I appreciate all you do. Aura will be hosting another virtual knowledge tomorrow via audio and video live stream, and we hope you'll join us then as well. Since so many of us have questions regarding SBA loans, unemployment insurance, grants, etc., I'll be quizzing experts from Holland and Knight and Seaside Bank about the Small Business Administration CARES Act and its Payroll Protection Plan program. There's even going to be opportunities for questions from the audience. This event will be accessed via a phone call made to you with instructions, including a link for those who want to watch. As always, thank you for being a valued member of the Orlando Regional Realtor Association and for allowing us the honor of serving you. Always remember, stay home, stay safe, save lives. Orlando Realtors Care.
Thank you.